And the candidate himself speaking to a raucous crowd in Pennsylvania tonight, his third campaign stop of the day.
A victory in November will be a victory for you, the American people, and that's what it is. I didn't need to do this. I didn't need to do this.
Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton takes a shot at Trump today.
I have now spent 4.5 hours on stage with Donald, proving once again I have the stamina to be president and commander-in-chief.
We'll get to all of that, but meanwhile, we have some breaking news right now from the Trump campaign. The candidate promising to announce his plan for the first 100 days of his presidency tomorrow. Here to discuss all of this now is John Phillips, KABC talk radio host and a Trump supporter. Also Simone Sanders, former national press secretary to Bernie Sanders. Gina Loudon, a Trump supporter and behavioral and psychology expert. And Bakari Sellers, CNN political commentator and a Hillary Clinton supporter. Good evening to all of you. Let's discuss this breaking news now, the first 100 days. John and Gina, Donald Trump was on Sean Hannity's show tonight. Let's listen.
Tomorrow you're going to make a pledge and put it on paper for the American people. You're doing it in Gettysburg.
Right.
Give us a preview. What is this about? Is this like a contract with America?
Sean, I want to do it tomorrow. I don't want to do it right now. I really want to do it tomorrow. I can only say we're going to make America great again. We have so many problems. Our taxes are too high. We're going to reduce them. Our borders are weak. Our regulations are crazy. Drugs are pouring into our country. People are coming into the country that we really shouldn't have come into the country. We have drug lords and criminals and murderers. And I mean, what's going on in this country is incredible. Hillary wants open borders where people can just flow through. We're not going to have a country anymore. We are going to do something very special. And tomorrow, I think, is going to be a special day at a special place.
So it's going to be in Gettysburg. John, you first. What can you tell me about this speech tomorrow?
Well, I'm told it is going to be modeled after the contract with America. And one of the things he's going to talk about is adding 350 warships to the Navy. We, of course, saw the Russians send a warship off the coast of England today, which scared the Brits. And they're rattling their sabers over there, and they need someone to counterbalance them. Our Navy is depleted, so that's going to be part of it. Term limits, which he's been speaking out about in recent weeks, are going to be discussed in part of this plan, and ethics reform as well.
Ethics, okay. So Gina, how we mentioned term limits and some of the things that he's been talking about. How is this going to be different from what he said in the past, Gina? What do you know?
Well, I think detailing a plan will reassure perhaps some Republicans who maybe have some doubts about what his actions are going to be, just because he has progressed through his life from a different political perspective. And I think people want to know exactly where he is and exactly what he's going to do. And I think him laying that out is actually a very smart tactic. Those sorts of plans go over well, especially with conservatives. And it might allay some fears and put aside some concerns and give people some optimism in a race that has gotten sort of pessimistic in a lot of ways.
So he held a call tonight with reporters. And so I'm just sort of looking over some of the things here before I get to Bakari and Simone. Let's see, he appoint judges to uphold the Constitution. He said that. Change immigration rules to give unemployed Americans an opportunity to feel good, really good. So that's part, some of that he's already said. Stand up to countries that cheat on trade. But John says there are new things like adding warships and ethics reform and term limits as well, which he's spoken about. So Bakari, he's laying out his first 100-day plan. Is this, to a Clinton supporter, is this the ultimate Hail Mary? I mean, look at the poll numbers.
Well, I don't think it's a Hail Mary, but I'm actually glad that, with less than 3 weeks remaining in the presidential race, Donald Trump decides that, oh my goodness, it's time to actually talk about policy. So that's a bit ironic. I think what you just heard on his clip with Hannity was a word salad, which Donald Trump has been known to do throughout this race. And so I anticipate tomorrow to be just much more of that. I'm interested to see whether or not we're going to be building the wall and banning Muslims in our first 100 days. And I'm interested to see if some of these other asinine ideas he's had over the past year and a half will be part of his 100-day plan.
Simone, what are you looking for?
I'm shocked. I am not optimistic that we're going to see actual concrete policy. This is something new for Donald Trump or the Trump campaign. So I'm just looking for some cold, hard facts, something we haven't seen this entire general and even the primary election season from Donald Trump.
Okay. So he held 3 rallies today in 2 states. Let's listen.
Win, lose, or draw, and I'm almost sure if the people come out, we're going to win.
But I will be happy with myself, because I always say, I don't want to think back. If only I did one more rally, I would have won North Carolina by 500 votes instead of losing it by 200 votes, right? If only I did. So I never want to ever look back. I never want to say that about myself. We have to work. You have to get everybody you know out there.
It seems like, John, a slightly more conciliatory tone coming from Donald Trump. What did you hear in that?
Yeah, look, I mean, all those stops, he's had more stops than Southwest Airlines. You can't accuse the guy of being lazy. He's out there working the campaign trail about as hard as you possibly can. And look, I mean, if I have one major criticism of the campaign so far is that he's been so easy to get off message. If he could stay on message and just focus on 5 things he's going to do or 10 things that he's going to do, he'd be in a much better place than he is now. Look, it's the 4th quarter and he's down 2 touchdowns, so he's got to go out there and put some points on the board. And I think that's what you're seeing him try to do with what he's going to do tomorrow in Gettysburg.
But Simone, when have you ever heard Donald Trump say win, lose, or draw, and in that tone where he was really sort of laid back? Because he's we're going to win, we're going to win, we're going to win big league. Don't you think there was a slightly more conciliatory tone for him?
I definitely think it was a conciliatory tone. And I mean, look, this is the same man that has been casting doubt on this country's ability to run free and fair elections, a cornerstone of our democracy. So what you heard from Donald Trump is he is laying the groundwork for a loss on November 8th. And I think he's understanding it. He's trying to get his people to understand it. Look, I've been in the campaign when we're down and we're in the last hour and we're down in the polls, but you cannot go out there and not give it your all. So that's what Donald Trump is doing. He's like, look, I want you guys to go out to the polls. I want you to get out there and we're going to win, lose, or draw. Win, lose, or draw is code for we might be about to lose this thing.
All right.
So please help us.
Gina, do you want to weigh in on that? Do you think it sounds like we're about to lose this thing and a desperation?
You know, I have the worst urge right now, honestly, Don, to say, that's right, Hillary voters, just stay home. It's all okay. This is the guy that wrote The Art of the Comeback. He's up in the most accurate poll, which is the IBD. It's the most predictive, at least historically. He's up by 1 point there. He's up in the LA Times daily tracking poll. So there, it depends on which poll you look at. I think that Mr. Trump, honestly, I believe this. I think he likes exactly where he is right now in this race. I think he's having fun with it, and I think he has every plan of winning. That's just how
Bakari,
I see him
I
and his
can read your
personality.
mind. I know what you're saying. He didn't write it. Somebody else wrote it. But anyway, am I lying? Is that what you were thinking? Go ahead.
No, I was actually thinking about all of these polls that Donald Trump is up in. Polls. Says who? Polls. But even more importantly.
All of them.
All of them.
There are more than that.
Every poll.
But I want to give Donald Trump a compliment, because John just pointed out something, and I was thinking about this earlier. One of the things that Donald Trump has shown is that he's a candidate who's willing to work extremely hard on the campaign trail. We've seen him do rally after rally and state after state, up many times in the same day, greeting, hundreds and tens of thousands of people. I mean, that's very tiring and taxing. And for him to keep up this pace for, a year and a half, you have to give kudos. The problem, though, with the Trump campaign is that they only have done this one aspect well. They've done the presentation during the rally well, but they haven't done the messaging. They haven't done the opposition research. They haven't done the opposition research on their own candidate. They haven't done the fundraising, other than the small dollar fundraising, but they got off to a fundraising start pretty late in the game, and they have absolutely no ground game. You have to give them kudos for the ability to do this and his endurance, but if they would have done this throughout every aspect of their campaign, it may have been a different race.
I see John and Gina agreeing with you wholeheartedly, saying you are absolutely right, Bakari. I'm kidding. We'll hear what they have to say on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere.